Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Talos of Tech live on Twitch. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed today's video about an Apple Watch SE. A lot of people were not, I think, getting the grip of the subject and commenting just based off the title or not watching it themselves. But we could talk about that later. This was a subject I wanted to go into yesterday, but I had some family stuff come up that I had to help them with. Nothing to worry about. Everyone's fine. But it's between the fact that this is the first time we're getting two iPhones within a year that are the same screen size. That's not that common. That doesn't happen very often. And I think that this puts even more pressure on the 12 Pro. It needs 120 hertz, okay? End game, that's the point I'm getting at. ProMotion is more important than we think it is. It's in my opinion, it is now escalated beyond this is a pro feature, other Androids have it, and I personally really like having 120 hertz on the iPad, so I want it on the iPhone. This is bigger than that. Because essentially, if they do not increase the refresh rate for the Pro iPhones, the 12 Pro is going to flop. 12 Pro Max, that can have its demographic. Some people may prefer the Pro Max just because it's a different screen size. That's an overall bigger phone. 0.6 inches larger, which is actually quite a bit when we're talking about stuff that goes in our pockets. But, what's this? Murisimo Tasha, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. Talos of Dancing, it's time. Yeah, I know. Some people hate the dancing, but as soon as I remove it, I just get complaint after complaint after complaint, and everyone's like, "Where's the dancing?" So we have to have dancing now. Otherwise, that's all the chat's going to be. Anyway, 5 bits from Overachiever. It's unfortunate, but during COVID-19, I had to sell my iMac 27-inch 2017 to over some of my expenses. I'll get another iMac once COVID-19 is over. I already miss it. Oh, I'm sorry about that, dude. That sucks. I hope you can get a good deal on one. I hope they update them soon. It sounds like they're going to update the iMac soon, but my point, anyway, that I was trying to make about the 12 and the 12 Pro, and you guys can fill me in on your thoughts on it, but all 4 iPhones are getting OLED this year. Okay, you know what that means? It means that between the 5.4-inch regular 12, the $750 12, the 12 Pro, and the 12 Pro Max, all the bezels are probably going to be the same thickness. The only reason the 10R and the 11 don't have as thin a bezels as the 11 and the 11 Pro, as the 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max, so many names to remember, is because it's an LCD, not an OLED. And if they're bringing OLED to the entire lineup, the bezels are going to be the same across the board. And I think that's reasonable to assume that because we're going with Pentile OLED displays, which is basically the same type of pixel density that we've had on the iPhone 10, 10s, Samsung has upcharged Apple on display prices for the past few years. Now that Apple is moving to BOE for displays in 2020, they can save a lot of money because BOE does not manufacture, it does not have that extreme upcharge that Samsung does. So they can get OLED displays for a lot cheaper than they did before. That means the resolution on the 6.1-inch 12 and the 6.1-inch Pro is going to be the same. And if they're both OLED, they're both the same bezels. Only difference on the outside being like, stainless steel on the 12 Pro versus aluminum on the 12. If you can save $250 by going with aluminum, people will take it. The only benefit of going with the 12 Pro now will be the CPUs are going to be the same. So dual camera on the 12, which is still going to be fine for most people, ultra wide plus regular. So on the 12 Pro, you will get LiDAR and telephoto. Will people spend $250 extra for a telephoto lens, LiDAR, and a stainless steel edges? Highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. Maybe frosted glass. Maybe on the back. But my point is, if the rumors are true about OLED being across the lineup, which so many sources are confirming that now, so I think it's reasonable to assume, it's not looking good for the 12 Pro unless they give it a high refresh rate display. Then that could justify, I think, the $250 because, in my opinion, that would be a pro feature that people in today's world, when we have the OnePlus 8 at 90 hertz and we have the S20 that can do 120 hertz, that would make people feel like it warrants the $1,000 price tag. If not, I see very, very few people buying the 6.1-inch 12 Pro. If you're going with the Pro, you might as well go with the Pro Max, and that's in the event that they do not do 120 hertz. in which case I could see why a lot of people would want to opt for the $1,000 12 Pro, just because it's a comfortable form factor, and the 120 hertz is a very, in my opinion, very noticeable refresh rate. Not to everyone, but that's why it's a Pro phone. So you're getting the telephoto, you're getting the LiDAR, and now you're getting 120 hertz. To me, that justifies it, but if it's not there, I think the 12 Pro would be a complete flop, and barely anyone would buy that. Who's going to spend an extra $250 just on telephoto and LiDAR alone? And that's it. In stainless steel. Telephoto is my favorite part of the iPhone camera system. I think, given you got to keep in mind the success of the iPhone 11, though. The 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max have not sold great in comparison to the 11, and that just has an ultra wide and a regular lens. Plus, it has night mode, which I think is impressive enough to people, but it still has portrait mode and stuff like that. So, I don't think the telephoto and LiDAR is going to be enough to move people over to spending an extra $250. I want them to keep the 5.8-inch display, though. Yeah, it doesn't sound like they are. 30 bits from Wixo Melody. Any updates on AR glasses? Haven't heard about them in a while. I've heard nothing. It sounds like a moonshot project at this point. It sounds like there's all kinds of development going on, but nothing concrete launching in the foreseeable future. Let's see. I'm selling my older iPhones for the 12 Pro Max. That's probably a good idea. Probably be up there in price. What of the Pro models have the new boxy design while the regular 12 models have the current design? People will go with the Pro. Maybe, but that's not what rumors are saying right now. I don't believe they would it doesn't make sense to me that they would add OLED displays and introduce new form factors like the 5.4-inch model, but keep the same curved off edges. Typically when there's a 12 series, when there's a iPhone 6 or iPhone 10, or they usually have the same design language around the edges. So I don't think that they're going to do curved on the regular 12s and squared off on the 12 Pros, personally. I hate to say it, but if the iPhones don't get 120 hertz this year, then forget it, because no other Apple product has it. Only the iPad Pro for Apple Pencil. It's just like USB-C. Well, USB-C is on other Apple products, but yeah. Will it be worth trading in my 11 Pro Max to the 12 Pro Max? If you just care about having the best display possible, and hopefully we get 120 hertz and you care about that kind of thing. If you just want best camera possible, best display possible, sure, yeah, I'd say that's worth it. Apple restocked on iPad Pros, picked up an 11-inch for $550. There you go. That was what I was looking for in the last Twitch stream. Was a 11-inch iPad Pro refurbished is $550. Get that with the Magic Keyboard. You haven't even spent $1,000, but you have a 2-in-1 laptop that has 120 hertz Face ID, a decent camera on the front and back, Apple Pencil support, very fast CPU and GPU, and it's still under $1,000. I don't think it'll upgrade from a 2017 iPhone 10 until 120 hertz is available. I think that would be a noticeable design upgrade from a couple of leaks I've seen. I'm not hearing anything saying it's not 120 hertz, but no one is concrete saying yes, it is 120 hertz. The only thing I've remotely heard is just like it's possible, given the display manufacturers they're going with. What about reverse wireless charging technology? Any of news for that on the 12 series? Not really. From what I've heard, it was intentionally planned on the iPhone 11 Pro series, and they decided to turn it off via software, and I think that's a good move, because I had reverse wireless charging. It was not that useful, and it's kind of dumb. Mostly because the only things you can charge are things that do not need to be charged as often as your iPhone does. So it doesn't make sense to use the device that needs more charge time to give power to devices that don't. Whether you're charging your AirPods or your Apple Watch, neither of those things need to be charged as regularly as an iPhone. So if your battery life is not fantastic, there's really no point to it. So I don't... And also wireless charging the AirPods is incredibly slow. And the idea of adding a function where you have to leave your phone face down on a table while your AirPods sit on top and gain, 5% every 10 minutes, it's probably slower than that. But I think Apple just realized that the feature wasn't worth it. They just decided, yeah, the technology's there, but no one's using it, and we don't think it's going to be appreciated, so we're not going to advertise it. It's a gimmick, yeah. Glassfire73, thank you for the Tier 1 subscription for 10 months. Holy cow. That is commitment. Thank you. Let's see. The only problem is I don't know how Apple would sell the ProMotion display. They're not supplying the Apple Pencil. Yeah, but I think if it's a market trend, Apple has been known to cave for market trends many times before. There's lots of other competitors doing it right now, whether it be OnePlus, S20. I mean, heck, even Razer did it before that. But when their biggest competitors are starting to move on with 120 hertz, the Pixel 4 even has 90 hertz. So it's likely maybe if the Pixel 5 ends up happening, maybe that will have 120 hertz. So Apple has caved in on things like bigger displays. You know, the whole reason the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus existed was because big phones were selling well. Ultra-wide cameras. Originally, I thought they were a gimmick when I saw them on LG phones, and now Apple prioritizes the ultra-wide over the telephoto. And I can see why, because it's a more noticeable camera feature than telephoto is. Telephoto is enhancing on digital zoom, because you can still do a digital zoom even with one lens, but you cannot do a digital ultra-wide. You have to have a lens for that. So that's why they prioritized it on the iPhone 11. So it's something that Apple has been known to, or fast charging is another example. You know, all the competitors are shipping fast chargers, so they're like, okay, with the 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max, we'll start shipping fast chargers with those phones. They don't cave on everything. I don't think that they will do Touch ID underneath the display, personally. I've been hearing reports of that since 2016, and it's never happened, and it doesn't really make sense with the consistency of Apple's biometrics. Face ID is better. I've used Touch ID now and gone back to Face ID, and I don't see a point in bringing back Touch ID if you have things like Face ID that work so well anyway. But 120 hertz is something they've been doing on their own devices since 2017. That's when we first got it, was June, not even at the end of 2017. The halfway mark of 2017, they introduced 120 hertz on the iPad Pros. People loved it. People have asked for it on the iPhones for years. Because they say it's a noticeable design, it's a noticeable screen improvement that pros care about, not everyday people. I'm not saying they should bring 120 hertz to the standard phones. The regular iPhone 12, keep that at 60, because that's the phone for everybody. That's the phone for people who don't care, don't notice little details like that. That's going to be targeted at the demographic that bought the XR and the iPhone 11. They're going to see the thinner bezels and the updated squared off design and go, oh my God, my iPhone 11 and my XR are now outdated. I got to get the new phone. But they don't notice things like 60 hertz and 120 hertz. But the Pro phones, the phones that have 3 cameras now and have insane good battery lives and have stainless steel and everything, that's for more of the tech community. That's for more of us that watch these streams or watch YouTube videos about phones. And we're seeing high refresh rate displays come to all of the competition, to the point that, you know, keep in mind, guys, like the flagships only come once a year. It's not just a decision for 2020. Like, the bulk of the iPhone 12's lifespan is going to be in 2021. So if they don't do 120 hertz on the 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max, that means 60 hertz for January 2021 all the way up till probably September of 2021. So that means summer of next year, a year from now, still 60 hertz. Over a year from now, August of next year, still 60 hertz. That's so long when there's going to be S21 coming out, OnePlus 8T coming out, OnePlus 9 coming out, all before the iPhone 13 or whatever they end up calling the next one. They have to adopt, like, this is key for me. It used to be just like this is high on my wish list, I really want this to happen, but now it's becoming like this is going to be embarrassing and this is going to suck if they don't do it. I'm not saying I will switch from iPhones if they don't do it. Obviously, I'm an iOS guy. The software matters much more to me than the refresh rate, but I'm going to be very, very disappointed if they don't do this. Let's see. I completely forgot about those instances where they did. I hope they do that, to be honest. 90 hertz is good. I would be okay with 90 hertz. It's not great. I would not be as happy as 120, but 90 hertz would at least show that they're in the game, that they at least care about that. If they do 90 hertz this year, that would be like the preview that, yes, 120 is coming next year, but 90 is noticeably better than 60, in my opinion. So it would be something. It would be better than 60 for sure, but 120 would be ideal. LiDAR isn't expensive to produce, right? I'm guessing no, because they added it to the iPad Pros and they didn't increase the prices, and they also doubled the storage options and added LiDAR and added an ultra wide. So I'm guessing LiDAR isn't that pricey, but I assume there's going to be some portrait mode or video mode benefits of having LiDAR on the iPhone. I don't think it's just going to be for AR demos, but that's not something everyday people are going to care about. Like, one of the main motivating factors, like the driving force for people to get a 10S or a 10S Max or to get an 11 Pro over something like a 10R 11 is the display. That's what it all comes back to. It's like, well, you get an OLED display, you get thinner bezels, richer colors, inky blacks. It's a noticeable, especially in side by sides. I don't think the pixel density is that big a deal, and I understand why everyday people are fine with a 10R and an 11 because they don't notice that kind of thing. But when people are debating, should I opt for the Pro or should I opt for the 10S, the display is the driving thing. It's not the telephoto lens. No one brings that up. Well, you get a telephoto. It's like, I don't care about that. I want the display. I want either the bigger display or the OLED display. And now that we're getting multiple reports all coming back to, there's two 6.1 inch iPhones this year, both OLED, both same size, both same bezels. If one doesn't, if there's no actual difference between these displays, 12 Pro is gonna tank hard. It's not gonna do well, because the whole point of having a Pro phone is to have that phone for people who care more about the tech specs, who care more about how their phone holds up against Androids. Whereas the regular 12s, that's just for people who don't really follow the tech community. That's just for everyday folk. Let's see. I don't think they'll do 90. That's a compromise. They'll either jump straight to 120 or stay at 60. Yeah, I generally agree with you. I don't see them doing 90 hertz either. I also think that they could probably do 90 hertz and tell us it's ProMotion, and we would believe them. Flying Goats, thank you for the Twitch Prime for 8 months. I recently got a Magic Mouse 2 and I love it. It's the best mouse I've ever used. Occasionally, though, clicking on the right side of the mouse makes a slightly different sound than clicking on the left side. Have you experienced this with yours? I have not. You might want to get that looked into. I don't know what that is. Magic Mouse 2, I really enjoy personally. It's got a stupid charging method, but you only have to do it once every 6 weeks, so I don't think it's that bad. If there aren't enough differences between the 12 Pro and the 12, are you going to get the 12 instead? No. Like I've said before, I'm getting the biggest display possible. I believe the screen size reports, those are usually pretty accurate in advance. So there's some things we're hearing about the 12 that I'm sure are wrong, and there's some things we're hearing that are right. The one thing that I do believe is correct are the screen sizes. I do believe there will be 4 iPhone 12s in September, 5.4, 6.1 for the cheap models, and then 6.1 and 6.7 for the Pros. I will be getting the 12 Pro Max at 6.7 inches. I don't care how much it is. I was anticipating it would be 1,200. More recent reports are saying it'll be 11. That's great, but even if it's $2,000, I will get that iPhone. Just because it's my job, and that's how I've been doing this for the past few years. I like the big screens. So no, I would not settle with the 12 just because I like having a telephoto lens and I want to see what the LiDAR is capable of. I kind of already miss having LiDAR in my iPad Pro, but that was such a small upgrade over my last iPad Pro, which is working fine. And I was already committed to buying the Magic Keyboard case, which was $350. So I was like, yeah, I'm not going to spend $1,000 just so I can have LiDAR. But the iPhone thing, that's something I upgrade every year anyway. iPad Pro, not so much. 5.4 inch is going to sell a lot, I bet. Yeah, I think it could. I know that form factor isn't as popular as it used to be, but if it's $650 and you get the OLED display and you get Face ID and you get the dual camera and the new design, the squared off design and everything, I could see people settling with a smaller phone. People be like, yeah, 5.4 inch, that isn't bad. $650 for the latest iPhone with the A14 chip and 5G support, who cares? But did you return your SE yet, or do I still have it? No, I still have it. It's right here, not being used. But I still want to do my iPhone SE versus iPhone 6 video, where we just kind of compare how things have changed over the years. So after I do that, I'll probably return this. Do you get all your money back when you return an iPad or Apple Watch? Maybe a dumb question here. For me, I have, but I'm very careful about it. I would not be very careless with Apple return policies because I've talked about it before, but I've been screwed over by returns in the past. But with Apple, it's always been fine. But you just want to do everything extra carefully. So don't try anything. Like for me, when I return products, I do not touch the chargers or the accessories that it came with. I always return it in the exact same packaging. I have it right here. The exact same packaging the SE came with. And on the inside, I leave, the paperwork. I leave the headphones and the charger. I don't even touch them. I don't even take the plastic off of them because I want it to be in the most like new condition possible. So do everything they tell you, and they tell you to send it back before a certain time. And I also make sure you factory reset the iPhone. You don't want to screw up and send it with still a password and everything. And I also clean them up. I make sure there's no fingerprints and there's no smudges on it. I make it real nice and pristine. So I'm just extra cautious whenever returning them. That way, at the return facility or whatever, they're able to refurbish them and sell them at a discounted price for people, or use them as replacement phones for people who break theirs. So it ends up being a mutually good relationship. It doesn't. If Apple was getting ripped off by doing this and they felt like they were losing money on it, then they would probably stop doing it. They would have a different return window, or they would warn you if you return too many devices at once. Hasn't it been more than 14 days? It hasn't yet, no. So, and I think there's a time window from when you issue the return. So for me, I think it's like May 18th, they said. I have to send it back before the 18th. So I've done it a lot of times before. Can't you use Louise's SE for the compare video? I could, but she also uses that when she's working and stuff, so I don't want to be like, hun, can I borrow your phone? I'm like, I have the SE here now. I might as well just use it. Since we're getting 5 years this phone instead of the original 3 was from 2017, so it's not that common. But I don't think they're going to keep around the 10R or the 11 this year because of how crowded the lineup will get. Apple currently sells 5 iPhones on their website, so maybe they'll remove the 10R and the 11 and just sell the SE and all the 12 and 12 Pros. Maybe. I'm trying to think of another time they did that where they just got rid of everything in favor of the new models. I don't think they have. I don't know if I believe that. I think they will keep one. I don't believe they will keep both. I don't think they'll keep around the 10R and the 11, but it's very much split down the middle which one they will keep around, because on one hand, people are like, hey, the iPhone 11 is newer, so they'll keep that one around. 10R is just getting too old. They'll get rid of it. But on the other hand, I'd say like the 10R is probably cheaper to produce, and it got a reduction of $150 last year. So maybe they'll keep the 10R but not change the price. So it'll still be $600. If you're just trying to get Face ID, but you don't want to spend iPhone 12 prices, or maybe you don't want to spend $750 to get the 6.1-inch model. Maybe if you're not crazy about OLED and you're fine with the LCD, for $600 you can get a 6.1-inch iPhone. I don't think they would lower the price of the 10R if they did keep it, but I don't know. We'll see. They did it for the 5S and the 5C. Yeah, they got rid of the 5, but I don't think they quit. I don't think they quit selling the 4S though. Didn't they still have the 4S at a heavily discounted price when they introduced the 5S? I could be wrong. We'll have to use the web portal to look back and check. Most exciting product of this year, the 12 Pro Max. Yeah, I guess it kind of depends. Some people I think are very excited for the ARM Mac, which is rumored to be potentially unveiled at Worldwide Developers Conference. I think once that event finally happens, June 22nd. It's far too long. I don't want to wait that long. But yeah, I think I'm pretty excited for the iPhones this year, to be honest, because they haven't changed the chassis design, the edge design of the iPhones in a long time. And I'm excited to see what this LiDAR technology does for video and photo. And the iPhone is getting even bigger. We're at 6.5 inch. Now we're going to go up to 6.7, which I'm excited to see and try out. And if it's true that they get 120 hertz, oh my God, I will be very happy with this year's iPhone upgrade. But at the same time, there's a lot of people more into it for the Mac, and they want to see what happens with this new ARM architecture on Mac OS and everything. I'm not crazy about it because I don't think that product will be for me, at least in the near future. If they start making ARM MacBooks that can rival the performance of the 16-inch MacBook Pro, then I'll be like, okay, maybe I'll go with the ARM MacBook, because I don't need Intel CPUs or dedicated GPUs for my work. I'm just for having the most powerful machine that's mobile at the same time. That's why I don't mind the big size of the 16-inch MacBook. I actually prefer having a screen that large. Uh, so if they started making an ARM MacBook that was in that realm of performance, I'd be like, okay, I'll go with that. I don't care if it doesn't run old apps, or okay, it can't run Steam, or it can't do Boot Camp because it's an ARM version of macOS. I don't care. I run Final Cut, Safari, Twitter, Messages. Like that's that's all of the apps I run on my Mac. I don't need like old legacy software support on my Macs. I don't mind about that. Uh, but I don't think that's how the ARM Mac is going to start. It's probably going to come out like a 12-inch MacBook and just be like really power efficient and small and portable, which is cool. And I'll likely get one to review it and make videos about it, but I don't think I'll keep it. I don't think that's something I just need to use on the daily. I would much rather use the iPad Pro with Magic Keyboard as just a good laptop to have around. Yeah, we need a dedicated GPU for Angry Birds. Thank you. What size do you think the ARM MacBook will be? I think they'll start at like something really compact and small, like a 12-inch or a 13-inch MacBook, something like that. When did Louise get an SE? Well, you can watch the video of her setting it up. It's on the Taylosive Podcast's YouTube channel. That's where all these Twitch streams go after they're live. She got the white SE for free, sent to us by Mint Mobile. Not a sponsor. They just wanted to help us out. They didn't even ask me to talk about them. They just considered it a flat-out gift. So that was really nice of them. We didn't know what color it was going to be, though. They just said they would send me an SE, and then later I'm supposed to be getting a OnePlus 8, and I don't know what color that is either. So that's not supposed to be for a couple weeks, though, so not yet. Chris Norton, thank you for the 200 bits. Thank you. Chris Norton in the chat. For me, the iPad is more exciting than an ARM MacBook, Apple Pencil, and 120 hertz all the way. Well, we've had that since 2018. The question earlier was, what's the most exciting Apple product of this year? And to me, I'd probably say the 12 Pro Max. But I guess it may not count as a hardware product, but I'm also really excited for the next generation of iPadOS. I feel like there's a lot riding on that. Also, it's easy to forget about AirTags. Maybe people are excited about that because Apple's never made an accessory like that before. So this is completely new territory for them. It's one of the rare things that hasn't come out, but we can pretty much say it's confirmed. Apple uploaded a video on their support page that was just showing settings and tutorials on the iPhone, and it literally referenced AirTags on the screen, spelling and the capitalization and everything. That's not a concept. That's not some leaker. That's from Apple themselves, and we've seen the name AirTags referenced in the source code long before that. So that's pretty much the most confirmed product that's not been announced yet we've ever had. But at the same time, with everyone quarantined, you're probably not losing things that often. I'm not that excited for the Series 6, honestly. The rumors I've heard from it sound really underwhelming, and I'm legitimately like, for the sake of being an Apple sheep and for the sake of being a tech YouTuber, it feels weird that I'm still rocking a Series 4 and the Series 5 has been out for so long. And it's going to feel really weird if I don't go with a Series 6. But honestly, like, with the rumors I'm hearing about it so far, I don't think it's going to be worth it for me. Or anyone, really, who bought a Series 4. I'm trying to think of what the Series 6 could do that'll be worthy of upgrading from a Series 4. Definitely not a 5. I don't know anyone who's bought a 5 that's going to be like, yeah, Series 6, that's what I need. Only, like, I talked about it on the podcast, but pretty much the only thing I think I could justify it with is if the battery life is like monumentally better. If they announce that the Series 6 can last like a week on a charge, I'd be like, okay, that's kind of impressive. I don't think I need that bad, but I'm curious if I will use my Apple Watch differently if I know that the battery can last me many, many days on end. But I don't think that's going to be. I think there will be battery life improvements, but I think it'll be like, well, it used to last 18 hours. Now it lasts 24 hours. Cool. Now it will last, 3 days on a charge instead of 2. I can get by with 2 on this. Honestly, Series 6 just needs a price cut. Yeah, they won't do that. I thought they were going to do that last year. I was like, maybe they don't need a Series 5. The leaks for it were really quiet. There wasn't much talk about it. So I was like, maybe they'll just keep around the Series 4 and reduce the price and maybe add some more finishes to it. But no, Series 5 came out. That was a thing with always on display and compass support. That was about it. So with the Series 6, yeah, the only thing that would really genuinely get me to upgrade my watch is if there was a design upgrade. Like if they found a way to make the screen even bigger or shrink the bezels even more, or to just somehow look different than the current ones, that would make me upgrade. But yeah, doesn't sound like that's going to happen. Have you ever had a phone die on you when you needed it the most? Pixel 3, when I reviewed that a lot, the battery life on it sucked quite a bit. The SE actually never died on me. It came close. There was a few days where it ended at like 10% or 5%, but it never was like I'm using my phone normally throughout the day and then SE died. Haven't had that happen. Let's see. iPad Pro is already on the level of the MacBook Pro 16-inch and single core. Yeah, but when there's 8 on the 16-inch. But a bit far off of the multi-core. So if the leaks are true and the ARM MacBook has a 12-core A14, it'll probably be very close to the 16-inch MacBook Pro. Don't mix up your leaks, though, because the leak talking about the ARM MacBook with a 12-core CPU was referring to 2021. That was not referring to the ARM MacBook that's possibly being unveiled in June and shipping later in the year. Battery life won't be any better on an iPhone with 120 hertz. Well, that's what the A14 chip is for, dude. A14 is going to be a 5 nanometer chip, and if Apple has 120 hertz, it will absolutely be a variable refresh rate, just like it is on the iPad Pro. And you notice when Apple went from no 120 hertz on the 2016 iPad Pro to 120 hertz on the 2017 iPad Pro, battery life didn't change. Because Apple's smart about this stuff and they know how to maximize battery efficiency and have the refresh rate dynamically change depending on what's going on with the display. So if they can sustain the same battery life on the 2017 iPad Pros with 120 hertz, I'm sure they will find a way to do it with the iPhones. And even if it comes with a battery cut, keep in mind, this is coming to the Pro versions of iPhones. 11 Pro, 11 Pro Max, they have great battery lives. I end the day with my 11 Pro Max at like 60% most of the time. That's like average what my phone is at by the time the day ends. So if adding 120 hertz to the 12 Pro Max means the battery dies at 40% at the end of the day, still worth it. And for sure, just like it's an option on the iPad Pro, it'll be an option on the iPhone. If you want to turn off 120 hertz, you can turn it off, just like you can on the iPad. But you'll notice it doesn't make a huge difference in battery performance. Let's see. Any rumors on new AirPods getting USB-C instead of Lightning? Nope, never heard one of them. After iPhone 12, it'll be the last product I regularly charge that uses Lightning. The thing is, I do everything via wireless charging anyway. I mean, there are occasional times where I'm like, I want a fast charge, so I'll use the Lightning port on my phone, but it's so rare that USB-C, like I said, it would be really, really nice to have on the next-gen iPhones, but I honestly wouldn't use it. I would still Qi-charge everything. I think they should move to USB-C. I don't think they should keep Lightning. I don't think removing the charge port right now is a good idea when people are hesitant to upgrade and looking for reasons to upgrade anyway. Removing the charge port I don't think is a good move. I would rather them do USB-C than remove the charge port at this point. But I don't know. Let's see. Most phones nowadays can last you through the day without dying. True. Which is why fast charging matters less and less. Let's see. Apple should stop selling the 2 tiers of 13-inch MacBook Pros. I kind of agree. I mean, I heard about Dave 2D's video about how the performance difference between the entry-level 8th gen and the entry-level 10th gen, like the price is too high and the performance isn't that different, so that's probably why Apple had the 8th gen start on the base model MacBook Pros. But honestly, I just think there's too much overlap between them and the MacBook Air that I would rather, and also they kind of up-spec'd the 4 Thunderbolt 3 port version of the MacBook Pro. See, this is the problem. I hate having to differentiate between the two. The MacBook Pro with 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports and the MacBook Pro with 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports. They high-spec'd it too much. Like, the base model, the cheapest MacBook Pro with 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports has 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gig SSD. I think you could make that cheaper. Keep the 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports, but make it 8 gigs of RAM and 250 gigs SSD. Started at $1,500. And yeah, okay, the MacBook Pro doesn't start at $1,300 anymore. Big whoop. But the $1,300 MacBook Pro only has 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, still has the 8th gen CPUs. The MacBook Air has 10th gen CPUs, still has 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, just doesn't have a touch bar, and it's cheaper. I think I would prefer that differentiation in the lineup. Is that a word? Just kill the base model Pro. Honestly, the Air is a better buy and has the 10th gen. Yeah, I think we need more. The MacBook Air has faster RAM than the base model MacBook Pro. And I know, it just feels kind of dated. But, I mean, we probably just need to see some more direct side-by-side comparisons of the new MacBook Air versus the new 13-inch MacBook Pro. I bet the performance is not that different in the first place. Let's see. I wish they would just go USB-C now, because if they go straight to portless next year, doesn't that mean they'll have to add a wireless charger and AirPods in the box? The price will be much higher, and they won't even be a port. The thing is, removing the headphone jack, it was a single-use port, and there were wireless alternatives that were really decent, because AirPods are very simple and easy to use. Whereas charging, the Lightning port is used for so many more things than just charging. And I don't know of really what features could benefit from removing the charge port. With the iPhone 7, they said it helped with water resistance and it increased the battery life. What could they get out of removing the Lightning charge port? Would it really increase the battery life by that much? Yeah, that's what I was referring to earlier. So yeah, I think that when people are, first of all, we could be heading into a recession pretty quickly. The economy is probably not doing great. So trying to make sure people see great reasons to upgrade their iPhone, and when new iPhones come out, I think the 2021 iPhone is going to have a really hard time justifying people upgrade. Because this year I feel like has the chance of being a super cycle. You got competitive pricing, new updated designs, you got the 5G adoption, which some people care about, but that's stupid. You got the spec boosts with the A14 chip, the first 5nm design. A noticeable new look, OLED across the lineup. You're going to get a bunch of people that see a reason to upgrade this year. But all the designs are more than likely going to be pretty much the same in 2021. So if the only change in 2021 is these have no port now, people aren't going to upgrade for that. That's not a good enough reason. So I don't think it's a good move. I don't think Apple will do it personally. I think portless is 5 to 10 years away. I don't believe all these portless. Yeah, no rumor that's 2 years ahead of time is very accurate ever. I don't think Apple knows what they're going to do, so that's why I wouldn't trust any leaker on the subject, even if they have a good track record. But in reference to the MacBook earlier, people are saying the 10th gen in the Air is weaker than the 8th gen in the Pros. I understand that, but I still think that there's too much overlap, basically. I don't think the MacBook Pro needs to have a 2 Thunderbolt 3 port version. I think that MacBook Pros should all have 4, and the MacBook Air should have 2. And if they would have down-spec'd the 4 Thunderbolt 3 port model a little bit and started it at 1,500 instead of 18, and not equipped it with a 512 gig SSD and 16 gigs of RAM, then I think it would have justified the refresh a little bit better. If we go into recession, will you make Taylosive economic? I've been doing a lot of finance videos on the Taylosive Talks channel, but like I've said before, I don't have an overflowing number of video ideas for finance, which is why I would not dedicate a specific channel to it. And there's also, with me being stuck at home all day, there's not a lot of vlogging I can do in the first place. So the Talks channel, basically, it was in need of content. And the finance topic, I don't have enough to make a whole channel about, but it's something that I usually, anytime I go into finance topics, I have to talk a lot about my personal life, and here's what I did, and here's what happened to me, which kind of relates to what the Talks channel is as a whole. So finance videos will continue to be a mini-series on the Talks channel. It won't be the only thing the Talks channel does, but I think that's the most appropriate place for it. I don't think there's a need for a dedicated channel. For one, because making a new channel and getting it monetized is very, very difficult to do. Getting it to 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 hours of watch time. So if I start doing finance videos on a finance channel, they won't be monetized for a very, very long time. So that's why First rule of finance, monetize the content. And yeah, they're free. So look at it that way. You can watch those videos and take my advice at no charge. Kill the base model MacBook Pro and put the ports on the Air on either side. Boom, there's your future ARM lineup. Yeah, the ARM is going to be a whole another can of worms because that can't be Thunderbolt 3. That'll have to be USB 4. So we'll see. It's Intel's problem. Their chips suck. I know. Apple doesn't... I think it's pretty obvious Apple does not want to keep using Intel in their MacBooks. We know that. It's just going to take a while before they completely get rid of them. It's gonna take a while. Let's see. We need a 2020 iPod Touch. No, thank you. Do you think FaceTime will ever open up to be a Zoom competitor? I still hear people call every video chat service FaceTime, even if they are using Zoom, term Skype. I don't know what FaceTime could do to become a Zoom competitor because FaceTime is all backed through your Apple ID. So why can't FaceTime be a Zoom competitor? Because people don't want to reveal their Apple IDs to other people? Then they would have to make some type of FaceTime business mode, which would have a different email attached to it, I guess. I don't know. I don't see why FaceTime can't be a Zoom competitor. It's just not as probably school friendly. And schools are weird. Schools will pick the most random products and hardware and software. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen colleges and schools be like, hey, we have to use Microsoft Office 365 because that's what we're used to and it costs money, so we're going to have to pay Microsoft thousands of dollars a year so that every student can have 365, even though you can use Apple Pages or you can use Google Docs on Windows or PC for free, no additional cost, but the school will be like, yeah, but we want this one certain thing that Office has. It has some spacing thing that we require, so we're going to have to spend thousands of dollars a year because we require our documents to be this certain way. It's not on Android. Oh, so you're saying open up FaceTime to be open source and work on the web and stuff like that? I guess they could do that, but is there much financial incentive for Apple to? I don't think they could make much off of that, so I don't know. I've still to this day I've never used Zoom. I don't have school or I'm not in a classroom, so I don't know why I would. But RJ Moore, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub for 4 months. Welcome to the stream. It looks laggy and stupid, but here's the honest truth. I have not seen a good, effective group video chat service. Having a one-on-one video chat is one thing, but as soon as you get like 5-6 people on one video call, it always sucks, no matter the service. Whether it's Skype, Zoom, FaceTime, it's like uploading and streaming that many videos at the same time. There's always going to be lag. There's always going to be someone with a crappy microphone, and there's no good way to do it, honestly. There's not a great, like, Google Hangout, all that stuff. It always ends up being laggy and weird. We use OneDrive at my university, but we get an Office 365, 1 terabyte of OneDrive storage included in our tuition, so I'm not complaining too much. Yeah, it's just because it's free to you, though, it's not free to the school, is all I'm saying. And schools have weird requirements, and they make these weird contracts. Like in my high school, every single classroom had these smart boards, and they are horrible. There's like basically a projector screen, and then you have these digital pens that draw on this big, fake screen so that you could write up on the smart board. And I asked the teachers about them, and they cost like $5,000 a piece. And they basically don't do much different from just writing on a typical whiteboard. But the advantage is you can play videos on them occasionally. And they just decided, yep, we're going to put smart boards in every single classroom, $5,000 a piece, and they're all laggy, and they barely work. And the writing on the screen never lines up with what the person is actually writing. They were always terrible. But they were in every single room. Every single teacher had one, even if it was a classroom that definitely did not have an advantage to it. And all they do is use white, dry erase marker on the whiteboard, does the exact same thing, except the teacher literally would have to resynchronize the smartboard every single day because it would be lagging. They would be drawing on the screen, and it wouldn't sync up with where they were drawing. So they'd be like, hold on, I got to reset it, and then they have to tap the board again to resynchronize it. It never worked well. But they probably spent easily $50,000 on those things. That's how a lot of schools work. Um, Same with the services. We had those boards at college. They were crap. Some teachers make the whiteboard marker and mess them up. We had Polyvision smart boards. The pens were never calibrated, though. Yeah, it sounds like it's a common thing. This crappy product that was targeted at schools that was in some presentation somewhere, and all the schools went, "Oh yes, technology. We need technology. Let's buy up those things. $100,000. Seems reasonable. We care about our students. Let's spend all our money on this crap." Ugh. Hey Drew, how's your day going? It's going good. Thanks for asking. Good so far. My wife is back at work, which is good because she's working, but at the same time, it kind of sucks because when she was on furlough, we could spend a lot more time together. But oh well. I synchronized my schedule with hers, and channel's doing well. We just hit 210,000 subscribers, which is cool. EV channel just passed 19,000 subscribers, which is also cool. Let's see. My teacher lost her Promethean board pen once, and it took them like a month to get her a replacement. Oh my god. Yep, that sounds exactly like the teachers in schools I went to. Our schools hated those so much that they eventually just switched to projecting onto a standard whiteboard. That's what I didn't understand. There's so many things I've seen schools do that is clearly because they just want to be futuristic and they want to be like Patrick Star. We have technology. But they're not helpful. They're worse. They're slowing down everything. And I'm a techie guy. I like incorporating technology into my life, but only when it helps. If incorporating technology into your life makes it worse, I don't want it. And that's what it felt like the school was doing. It was like, just write on the whiteboard. There's nothing wrong with the typical whiteboard and the dry erase mark. Like, why did you need to complicate this and digitize this whole process? Also, it was always the wrong size. They would run out of space on the whiteboard. So then they would have to move it over instead of, the giant whiteboards that were actually in front of the class that you could write way more stuff on and you could see it and you didn't have to synchronize it. I'm like, why do they make it so complicated? Yeah, I just finished the podcast. Elon Musk returned to the Joe Rogan podcast today. It was very tame. There was no smoking of weed. There was no. I guess it wasn't too tame if COVID-19 is kind of a hot subject, and they talked about that a lot. But I think the podcast was decent because it allowed Elon to kind of speak more as a person and not so much just the way he comes across in his tweets. I think are way worse than he actually is in person. I don't think he's very good at conveying what he believes and how he thinks on Twitter, because when he just goes on his little Twitter rants, he sounds like a maniac and he sounds like an idiot. But then when you hear him talk in a podcast form, it's like, okay, I see why he thinks that way. You may disagree with him, but he doesn't sound like a raging lunatic on the podcast. So if you had hopes for Elon, but you were having doubts about him because of the tweet storm, give the Joe Rogan podcast a listen to. I enjoyed it. I thought it was healthy. It was mature. It felt like the conversations were intelligent, and it didn't feel like conspiracy theory territory that the Twitter interactions can make it feel like very quickly. And it was hopeful. It restored a lot of my hope. Let's see. Did he ask Elon about his newborn kid's name? Yes, he did. That was like the first question they brought up. And he said the naming was mostly on his girlfriend's part. And Elon's only contribution was A12. But the AE thing is short for Ash. So I'm pretty sure they're going to call the kid Ash. Yeah, but they joked about it a little bit, yeah. They go into most of that stuff. They didn't talk too much about Tesla. Most of the podcast was about neural net, which was interesting. But there's so many questions I have about neural net. I don't even know where to begin on that. But because I can't even comprehend how it works, that it was kind of hard to listen to and understand what he's saying about neural net and what they're going to do. But yeah, they didn't talk too much about Tesla or SpaceX at all. There was almost no SpaceX discussion. There was a little bit of Tesla talk at the end where he brought up that the Cybertruck might come out before the Roadster, which has me a bit confused because it's like, so does that mean that the Cybertruck is coming out pretty early? Or does that mean that the Roadster is not coming out till 2022 now? Like, I can't even tell. I wish he could give us some more concrete timeline updates on that. Like, if Tesla could just come forward and say, "Hey guys, so we're doing some amazing things on the Roadster," and he alluded to it at the end. He mentioned that to the people waiting on the Roadster, it's gonna be worth the wait. Basically, you're gonna be amazed. And he said that the 1.9 second 0 to 60 time is the base model, and that the Roadster would have a bunch of features in it that make it unfair against other vehicles. So I assume I assume he's alluding to the SpaceX package, but he also referenced that the Roadster is kind of like dessert, and that we should have the healthy meat and greens first with the Tesla products in the pipeline. So it sounds like the Roadster is going to be delayed to prioritize Cybertruck, which they think is more important. So I don't know if that means Cybertruck is ahead of schedule, behind schedule. They haven't necessarily announced where the Cybertruck factory is going to be, but it's pretty much confirmed to be Texas at this point. They alluded to it during the Q1 earnings call. He said Giga Texas a long time ago. They already have SpaceX factories in Texas, and Elon said Battery Investor Day could be in Texas, so why would they consider it in Texas if they weren't in talks to bring the factory there? So more than likely, I would say it's like 95% chance that the new Gigafactory is going to be in Texas. But with the demand and the insane interest there's been in the Cybertruck, maybe they want to move that up in the timeline. Maybe they want to start producing those things earlier than expected. We'll see. They don't have a factory for Cybertruck. Yeah. Not yet. They haven't have a location check. This is definitely a state for trucks, or stupid dealership laws need to change, though. Yeah, that's probably something they're working on. But even if they can't sell the truck directly to consumers in Texas, like there is still just the majority of pickup truck sales are all in the central U.S. So it doesn't really make sense to put a new factory on the East Coast or build them in the West Coast, because you're going to have to send them all to the East. So building it somewhere in the middle of the U.S. makes sense. I get why they're doing it. Anyway, let's see. For most tasks, the MacBook Air is better than the base model MacBook Pro due to the faster RAM and better processor in terms of single core, but in heavy tasks, it fails behind due to worse thermals and worse performance in terms of multi-core. So for most situations, the MacBook Air is better. True. I think that's fair. For the people that would care about the higher performance multi-core tests, they would probably be getting the higher tier MacBook Pros anyway, right? Yeah, he talked about ramping up Model Y and Giga Berlin, but that's no surprise. He mentioned that on the Q1 call. Model Y production is ramping very, very quickly compared to the Model 3. For those who don't know, I know this is EV related, but I don't really do EV streams. Maybe I should. But basically, they produced more Model Ys in the first quarter of production than they produced they produced more Model Ys in the first quarter of production than they did Model 3 production in the first 2 quarters. So 6 months of time, the first 6 months of Model 3 production, they did not produce as many Model Ys as the first quarter, to give you a perspective on how fast they're able to crank out these things. And that means that more than likely standard range is coming out early 2021, possibly sooner, because of how quickly they're ramping up production. And I also heard it's possible that the Fremont factory could be opening up tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly, but the governor of California said they want to get into stage 2 at the end of this week, which is tomorrow, and they're going to start letting certain manufacturing plants reopen. Slowly but cautiously, taking precautions, obviously, with masks, washing hands, sanitizing stuff. So they're going to be cautious, but things are slowly going to start reopening. Not for me, but it will definitely add pressure to other car companies. Yeah, for sure. I have not seen a Model Y in person anywhere, but I don't go out that much anyway. So I hope to see one in this year. Hopefully, at one point in 2020, I hope I can just drive by a Model Y. I'll freak out. I'll start screaming. My Tesla store is 25 minutes away, and they basically exist as, look at these cars. They can't even sell you there. Go home and order. Yep. They kind of redesigned the whole car purchasing process. 20 bits from Gaber. Love your arguments, Drew. Continue doing what you're doing. Thank you. Appreciate the support. I will keep it up. This is definitely a state for trucks, yeah. So Model Y production is ramping fast. Tesla Semi, I think, is something Elon has prioritized as being like, that needs to come out first. So it sounds like Semi is in bigger priority than the Roadster. Yeah, Model Y is chunk 3. But a lot of people who have the Model Y have said that um, they think it's the best Tesla overall. Just the right amount of range, the right amount of practicality, capability, performance, visuals. Like there's just all the best parts of Tesla rolled into one. It's not the cheapest Tesla. Model 3 is still going to be there, but definitely better than a Model 3, pretty much in every way. I saw one a few days ago and I gasped and I was just standing there staring at it for a few minutes. Yeah, I guess it's really not that impressive. I mean, it's a bigger Model 3. Most of the parts are from the Model 3. So when I see a Model Y, I'll freak out just because I've been talking about it so much. But at the same time, it's really not that different. Unlike first time I see a Cybertruck, I think I will probably, crap my pants and scream my head off because that is totally different from anything we've ever seen before. So once those start hitting the road, that's going to be a different story. If Apple does make the 12-inch ARM MacBook cheaper than a MacBook Air, then there's going to be no point to buying a MacBook Air. No, there is. We went over this. You're assuming that the ARM MacBook will have all the exact same software capabilities of the MacBook Air. So the MacBook Air will still have a purpose even with an ARM MacBook in existence because ARM MacBook is going to be running a different version of macOS, which is not going to be capable of running all of the same software. So knowing Apple, we don't know. They could try to do some x86 app emulation on the ARM Mac, but you cannot run every single app the MacBook Air can on the ARM MacBook. But knowing Apple, they might not do it. They might not even do an emulator. They might just say you need to update your app for ARM Mac, and they'll announce it at WWDC. But the ARM Mac won't launch until end of the year. So they're going to say, "Hey, developers, get ready. Start optimizing your apps for the ARM Mac." So I could see them do that, and then in that case, whichever developers don't optimize their apps, you won't have app support for those programs on the ARM Mac, which means that the MacBook Air still has that advantage because it can run any, Mac OS compatible application, whereas the different ARM architecture, that would change things up. Let's see. What happened to Battery Investor Day? Is that still in May? They haven't given us an official day on it, but on the Q1 earnings call, they said third week of May. So this month, even. But I hope they announce it soon. Because best case scenario, it's like 2 weeks away. Because isn't it March 7th today? For the past few months, they've been alluding that May would be when they do it. No, you would not have access to the Adobe apps on the ARM MacBook. Probably not. Knowing how Adobe is slow to adopting new standards and architectures and stuff like that. MacBook feels so dated compared to the iPad Pro plus Magic Keyboard. I know. Using this thing as a laptop is so much more fun than using a MacBook. And the only thing I'm even still considering getting a MacBook for is there's some pro apps and there's some pro work stuff I can only do on a Mac that the iPad can't do yet. But the iPad is so much more fun to use. If you can go with an iPad Pro and a Magic Keyboard, even if it costs more than a MacBook Air, I still think it's more fun. It's more easy to use. Are you more excited for Battery Investor Day or WWDC? Ooh, good question. Probably, well, we don't have a date yet for Battery Investor Day, which concerns me. Originally they said mid-May, and then in Q1 earnings call they said third week of May, so probably it's going to get pushed back to June at this point. But, I don't know. I don't follow the battery chemistry stuff as much as some people do because I think people like someone's bringing up. Have you heard of the Triton Model H, the 700-mile range EV? For one, it's a concept and it's a startup, so I would not trust the specs of that company. They're unproven and probably not ever going to come out. But I don't think I don't think the problem with electric vehicles is the range, and I honestly don't even think it's a cost thing. I think that Tesla has made electric vehicles decently affordable, and if you factor in gas savings, a lot of people get loans on cars anyway, and it's spread out over a monthly cost. The problem is production. That's what I'm more interested in seeing how they're going to combat with Battery Investor Day. So it's a problem I'm just kind of assuming they're going to solve, and it sounds like they are going to solve it, but the bigger challenge with batteries and electric vehicles is finding a way to produce enough of them and to produce them fast enough so that they can make enough of the EVs that they're currently making that they can spread the sales and get more people adopting electric cars. But I don't really care that much about the range getting better. It's cool and all, and it's great that they get more practical. But honestly, the range on them, like the Model S, can basically go 400 miles on a charge now. That's possible. And we don't really think about the range of our gas cars either. And if you can charge from home, even if your range is 200 something miles, that still covers 95% of driving. So it's not like I don't think it's a big concern that they need to increase range or they need to decrease the price of the vehicles. The main problem right now is production. So that's what it sounds like Battery Investor Day is mostly going to be about. Probably my channel will get more interest in WWDC when that happens, and I'm excited for that too. There's a lot of hardware rumored for that event and a lot of software. For those who don't know, Tesla has been hinting at for over a year now, they're going to be doing a Battery Investor Day within a month or so, which is similar to Tesla Autonomy Day, which they did last year, where they basically get a bunch of investors together and tell them how they're going to achieve full self-driving. Battery Investor Day is going to showcase how they're going to reinvent batteries basically for their electric vehicles and how they're going to make them cost-effective, mass-producible, and increase the range so that they can continue to mass-produce electric vehicles at greater and greater calibers. So kind of a reinvention of the battery in a sense that results in less battery degradation. So meaning the Tesla can go 1 million miles without needing the battery to be swapped out. Right now, it's closer to 300,000 to 500,000 miles before that the battery needs to be serviced. So a lot of technology and upcoming hype kind of leading up to Battery Investor Day. But WWDC, I will probably pique a lot more people's interest for because more people watch the tech channel than the EV channel. Currently, it's not always that way, but that's how it is right now. So I'm excited for both, but I think WWDC is going to be a bit more flashy. I think a lot more people are going to be excited to watch that one and very curious to see what Apple does. But Battery Investor Day is going to be a very nerdy day. It's going to be a lot about the gritty details of the cathodes and electrodes and how batteries work and the materials that go into them and how it's going to be more boring. Battery Investor Day is not going to be something you get all hyped and like, woo! It's just a lot of intricate details when the event actually takes place. And the Autonomy Investor Day was like 3.5 hours. Battery Investor Day is probably going to be something like that. Whereas Dub is going to be like 2 hours maximum probably. But also, yeah, probably expect a lot more fluff, but not as many nitty-gritty details. I wonder if when the MacBook Pro 13-inch was refreshed, someone was mad it no longer had butterfly keys. There were. I saw some people tweeting and commenting that, hey, man, I like the butterfly keys. I actually prefer those. Why did they get rid of them? It's like, dude, come on. I liked them too. I wasn't against the butterfly keys when they came out, but there was definitely no hate against the Magic Keyboard. And the butterfly keys were clearly causing so many problems between the sticky keys and 3 generations of butterfly keyboard, and they were still failing. And Apple had to start replacing them for free. It was like, okay, they're fun. They were cool. They sounded different. But if something's this controversial, I say, sure, scrap it. I don't care. I definitely did not have an issue with the Magic Keyboard design. There's nothing wrong with that. The butterfly keys, I didn't have any issues with them. They felt fine to me. I didn't mind the sound. But if they're causing that much headache and they're causing that many people to be angry, fine. Go back to the old one. The old way's fine. Don't worry about it. I like the keys that always broke. Right. Exactly. Anyway, I've got some more work to get to today, guys, but I hope you enjoyed today's video and today's live stream. Appreciate your Twitch Primes and your bits. I'm going to head out here, but expect more videos. I'm going to keep it coming, and hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.